Tonight on News 5 Live, COVID-19 spreads to San Ignacio, where the fourth individual tested positive among a batch of tests of 20 persons. The patient is a 55-year-old man and is considered a high risk. Mapping of persons he had contact began in earnest and is ongoing, including his immediate family and work colleagues and the Belize City Mayor. San Ignacio Santa Elena Town Mayor Earl Trapp tells everyone to stay home. Belizeans will no longer be allowed to re-enter the country. All borders will be closed effective April 5th for the duration of the state of emergency. Thousands apply for the COVID-19 unemployment relief on the first day. And a Punta Gorda resident is murdered inside his house in the town. Details of these stories and much more coming up in tonight's newscast.
In life, there's always two sides to every story. Good stuff
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Friday, April 3rd. I am Sabrina Daly. At 1:25 this morning, a fourth case of COVID-19 was confirmed following a battery of tests of 25 persons. The announcement was made before 9 o'clock this morning to the nation by the Director of Health Services. The 55-year-old man is from San Ignacio and commuted to the city as an employee of City Hall. The mapping exercise started in earnest of those persons who came in contact with him, including the Belize City Mayor, and at this point, the case may be a game changer because of the individual's data. The Prime Minister released a sobering recorded statement on the matter. News 5's Isani Caetano reports.
Less than 24 hours after the country of Belize went into a 30-day period of lockdown in a bid to halt the spread of COVID-19, a fourth case has been confirmed. The result is from a battery of tests that was conducted recently, the latest victim of coronavirus being a resident of San Ignacio town.
The infected person is from the Cayo district, but up until about 11 days ago had been traveling to and from Belize City where he worked. He is in isolation at the Western Regional Hospital, and the DHS and his team have already commenced their mapping and tracing exercise. Indeed, swabbing of contacts as a prelude to testing has already started, and the exercise includes coverage of the medical professionals involved in the treatment of the patient.
That individual, a senior member of staff at City Hall, works closely with Mayor Bernard Wagner. In the course of his duties, he may have come into physical contact with other employees of the Belize City Council.
I was informed by Dr. Manzanero, and since then we have been doing the necessary work along with him to ensure that we identify all those individuals and staff members that what we considered primary contact, who made contact with the individual, and those are mainly the staff on the third floor, and thereafter we would list the secondary contacts, second floor, and any other contacts he would have made during that time, and we are filling that form as we speak. So by the end of the day, the health authorities will be getting that form with all those names, and thereafter the mapping would start.
The patient is a 55-year-old man whose diagnosis was confirmed shortly after 1 a.m. today. According to Dr. Marvin Manzanero, that person took ill on March 31st, exhibiting symptoms of fever and respiratory distress. The task ahead for the Director of Health Services and his team is for them to plot a chart of everyone who came into reach of this individual.
We are at this point in time conducting a mapping exercise to identify his potential contacts, as he doesn't have any recent travel history and he doesn't seem to have any primary contact who may have traveled out of Belize in the last 14 days. If we are unable to ascertain that he has any contacts that have a travel history, we'll have to consider this as a community transmission. That should be determined by the end of today.
At City Hall, this employee's office is adjacent to the mayor's. Today, the corridors on all 3 floors of the municipal building are clear, save for a few persons here and there. While he has not shown any sign of illness, the head of local government told News 5 that he too would be tested for COVID-19.
Well, I'm feeling pretty well. I'm pretty healthy. I have been doing all my physical activities, exercises every day, and that has been from the day the doctor had indicated that the point with his last contact here. I've been feeling pretty well, but again, you could never be certain. And so this afternoon, I'm supposed to go through the testing for the COVID-19, and I just remain open-minded about it.
This most recent case certainly buttresses government's decision to bring into force a countrywide state of emergency.
It is clear now that the state of emergency declaration and the shuttering of the country came not a moment too soon. Still, there are people insisting that we are overreacting in promoting some of the draconian measures contained in the revised statutory instrument signed last night by His Excellency the Governor General. I hope that this fourth case will help to persuade them of the absolute gravity of the situation.
The seriousness of the present state of affairs may very well reshape government's approach to dealing with COVID-19. That is, after all, confirmations have been made to determine the nature of this case.
If in point of fact it is the first case of a community transmission, then we will have to reclassify and give instructions as to how we will handle the potential cases. We do know that the patient had been seen at a private institution on Sunday and at another private institution on Tuesday, where he was referred for care at the Western Regional Hospital.
Mayor Wagner extends best wishes for the full recovery of his colleague.
It's unfortunate that that occurred with one of our staff members, and we want to wish that staff member well. You could never imagine that the pandemic would be at your footstep, and so we wish him well.
Reporting for News 5, I am Misana Cayetano.
At least 20 persons have been included so far in the mapping exercise relating to the fourth person carrying the virus. This includes his immediate family members and those individuals he came in contact with at work in Belize City. The West has been devastated by the news. San Ignacio Mayor Earl Trapp says the individual also conducted business at the town council in recent days. Trapp's message to everyone is to stay home. Here is News 5's Hippolyta Novello with a report from San Ignacio.
San Ignacio Santa Elena recorded its first COVID-19 case and the fourth for the country today.
I've always been preaching to the people that we must not panic. All we can do is to be extremely cautious and be careful in what we do. But when I learned of it, it certainly made me think different. I felt different as well.
And downtown San Ignacio town was different today. There was movement but little. A group of persons formed a line in front of Quick Stop, keeping their distance. Shoppers were out and about, and so were police officers and BDF soldiers. Some wore masks, others did not. At the market, residents stocked up on fruits and vegetables. Were they aware that patient 4 is a 55-year-old San Ignacio male? It is believed that this case might be a community case, which means that the possibility of more cases is very real, and the threat of an outbreak has gotten more serious.
It's home now, and the sad part is that we don't know whom this person may have been in touch with or around, and inadvertently we can become infected. I see it as unfair when Ministry of Health will not release the names of the infected people, of which it has its pros and its cons. Because what you don't want is to come in contact with this person that is infected, and inadvertently you get infected, and that's where the thing begins to spread. So I think we must get to the point whereby the names will begin to be announced and people will begin to appreciate, acknowledge, and respect. And that will help us to better control the spread of this deadly virus.
And Mayor Earl Trapp says that for the COVID contagion to be contained, residents need to adhere to the state of emergency rules, stay home, and maintain social distancing practice. Patient 4 had fever, mild cough, and difficulty breathing 5 days ago. He works in Belize City and had been traveling back and forth. He is currently in an isolated area within the Western Regional Hospital compound. A flu clinic has been set up outside for people who are experiencing symptoms. But patient 4 is said to be in an isolated room like this one. The Ministry of Health says that the designated areas within the hospital's compound will be used to manage COVID-19 cases. Meanwhile, Mayor Trapp and his council have partnered with the commanding officer, Superintendent Henry Jamot, to enforce the SOE regulations.
He has brought in the Belize Defense Force. He's brought in the Ministry of Immigrations, and they have been able to set up checkpoints, and as well they have been manning the illegal port of entries within San Ignacio. And I can say that they have made several arrests as well for people crossing the western border illegally. Yes, they have been making several arrests. They've been patrolling the streets, the market, some villages, and like I said, the illegal port of entry areas. I think some people are a little reluctant. While some are adhering to the advisories, others are taking it for granted. But now with this case evolving within San Ignacio and Santa Elena, I'm very much certain that the general population here will take things more seriously.
Reporting for News 5, Hippolyta Novello.
The month-long state of emergency is on its second day and includes a restriction on all out-district travel. With Easter vacation only a week away, plans to visit other parts of the country have since been dashed. With the fourth confirmed case of coronavirus not being classified as an imported incident, stricter measures are being enforced to stave off the spread of the disease. Government is moving towards an unprecedented but constitutional measure, which involves prohibiting the re-entry of Belizeans into the country as of Sunday morning, which means that persons wishing to return home must beat that deadline prior to undergoing a 14-day quarantine.
Travel across district lines is curtailed and Easter is cancelled, except, of course, as an opportunity for prayer, reflection, and virtual attendance at the religious services that our churches will live stream. You all know that our first two cases, one of which led to the infection of a third person, were imported. This fourth one seemingly was not. It therefore makes crystal clear the urgency of the heightened vigilance and protective measures that the state of emergency is designed to achieve. And there is yet more to be done. In the result, I will now, after a word of explanation, announce an additional ramp-up to our emergency regulations. Some days ago, we notified of our decision to place all Belizeans entering or re-entering Belize under a mandatory 14-day quarantine. Since that time, around 19 Belizeans are now confined in Corozal town at 2 facilities. Yet, they keep on coming. This is a stark reminder that our first 2 cases were brought in from LA and New York. The situation of Belizeans that have been in the US and Mexico simply returning to the country willy-nilly cannot be allowed to continue. It leaves the door wide open to importation of the virus, and this can upend all our war efforts against COVID-19.
The National Oversight Committee, a multi-agency task force chaired by Prime Minister Dean Barrow and opposition leader John Briceño, has together agreed that all frontier points and ports of entry must be closed to Belizeans seeking to return to the country. It's the latest directive given to the respective border agencies and, according to PM Barrow, will not be walked back for the duration of the 30-day period that falls within the state of emergency.
As a consequence, and after obtaining the unanimous support of the National Oversight Committee, the government of Belize has decided that our borders are now to be closed even to Belizeans seeking to enter the country. Except in the case of those that are returning from travel for urgent medical attention or some other emergency purpose, no Belizean currently abroad can return to Belize. This prohibition will, in the first instance, last for the duration of the state of emergency, and it will begin at 12:01 a.m. on Sunday, April 5th. It is, I readily admit, an extreme move. There is, however, no doubt that it has become necessary as we do everything to head off the swamping of our health system and the serious loss of life that the proliferation of the virus would entail. I therefore ask all Belizeans, and particularly those in the diaspora, for their understanding. This is the fight of our lives, and I deliberately use the metaphor when I say that Belize must absolutely be placed on a war footing. Our new decision is, as we have checked and double-checked, entirely legal and grounded in the powers contained in the Constitution of the country and under the Governor General's emergency proclamation. We shall therefore proceed, and for the next 30 days, our position is irreversible.
This afternoon, the Director of Health Services provided more details to the fourth case of the coronavirus. Mapping started soon after the results were known, involving the San Ignacio area as well as in Belize City, where the patient works. Health personnel who treated patient 4 at a private facility and then at the Western Regional Hospital are also included in the tracking and swabbing. But the results are not expected early. Here's Dr. Marvin Manzanero.
The mapping exercise started at that time. I mean, some mapping had already been done, because in part of the clinical history taking that you have with patients, you will find out what it is that you're searching. And at that 2 o'clock, after 2 o'clock in the morning, we were still in discussions with the family members as to where, trying to identify any possible contacts, any possible person that he may have been in contact with that could have gotten him infected. So the preliminary report has been produced from the San Ignacio area, because he is from San Ignacio. I had mentioned earlier that he was seen at 2 private facilities before he arrived on Tuesday evening at the Western Regional Hospital. That one of those was only seen by one doctor and had slight interaction with a nurse, and in the other private facility interaction with 2 doctors. Those 4 health staff are now obviously in isolation. One of the doctors that saw him initially actually had been off a shift as of Sunday, so he has not been interacting with anybody else since then. All these doctors are asymptomatic, and they would seem to have had minimum contact in terms of potential exposure, but they still have been swabbed. From that initial mapping in the Cayo area, there's immediate contacts, close contacts in the same household. Those have been swabbed, and there are at least 20 swabs that are going to have been taken from the Cayo area and the people who he would have interacted with at the regional hospital. We are going to start running those samples later on today. Central Health Region is doing a mapping exercise in Belize City, because that's where his workplace is, and that seems to be the link that we have for right now. It would read through his workplace. Doesn't seem to have a strong positive history from contacts he has in the Cayo area. The patient doesn't have a travel history for the month of February or March. His last travel history was in late January, and that was in Florida. So it wouldn't seem to match his current case with having been exposed if he had not had a travel history. So it may have been somebody who had traveled and then eventually got him be positive for COVID-19. Our mapping exercise is not going to be able to tell us right now whether we have him as a community acquired transmission, but it seems to be that the link is going to be from his workplace in Belize City.
140 persons have been tested from all over the country for the coronavirus. 4 are positive, 2 in San Pedro, 1 in Belize City, and now San Ignacio. It means that the northern and southern parts of the country are so far without cases. The breakdown shows that 50% of those tested are from Belize District, including the Keys. 12 are from Corozal, 10 from Orange Walk, 32 from Cayo, 10 from Stan Creek District, and 7 from Toledo.
When we had started the week, we had 98 tests done. We are up to 140 tests, 25 done yesterday. That's the biggest amount in terms of number of tests that were done in one single day. And the previous day we had done 12 tests, so that in 2 days we had done 37 tests. In that batch that was processed yesterday, one of those has turned out to be positive. That's the 4th case that we reported earlier in the day. In terms of the testing that we did yesterday, the 25 tests, we had gone in search particularly of healthcare workers who are having any sign or symptom, and we are trying to broaden the scope of who is eventually being tested, because as you would know, that's what one of the recommendations is, to test, and that's what we are trying now to span it across the country. I know one of the concerns has been, why are tests coming out so late? Well, what we have been doing at Central Medical Lab is we are pulling samples from across the country. So we are giving lab cutoff time 4 p.m. for samples to get to Belize City, because after the samples get there, there's a process of extraction, and I think the 2 lab technicians were in a different forum earlier today to explain what it is that they do. Once that extraction process has started, how it is that they have to load and prepare the machine, and once you have a screen test, you will have to do another confirmatory test to confirm the presence of the virus SARS-CoV-2.
We will have more from the experts later in the newscast. Coming up, lines form at the SSB as the COVID-19 Unemployment Relief Program gets underway. And a man is murdered at his home in Punta Gorda.
Hello, friends.
Thousands have been left jobless in the tourism industry, as well as other sectors as business comes to a halt. So in Belize City and other districts, the unemployed persons lined up to collect their promised relief. The program is called the COVID-19 Unemployment Relief, which will provide $150 per family every 2 weeks. It is not much, but will make a difference for many families who will not collect paychecks. This morning, there were hitches in the disbursements. The online site crashed due to the demand, and many did not have a bank account where the aid can be deposited. Here's News 5's Andrea Polanco with a report.
Belizeans lined up outside of the Social Security branch office in Belize City this morning. They were waiting for this form, the COVID-19 Unemployment Relief Application Form. It was advised for persons to do this online at the www.covid.bz website. But that itself crashed this morning because of the overwhelming traffic to the site. This is a message that popped up earlier when you clicked on the link. But many don't have access to internet services and opted for the physical form. Some were completing their forms on the spot and dropping them in this red box. Others were taking it home. The aid is $150 every 2 weeks, a total of $300 a month. Self-employed handyman Luis Perez is a father of 3. He was one of the first persons to get an application form this morning.
I'm a handyman right now, and you know this means that catch and kill, right? You go wrong, well, they hire you here that an established job, you see. But yet, the thing where the government, they say about this lead change, you know, where give no I there from 5:30 we left because I may expect one big rush or something. I got my kids, I got one newborn right now, 3 weeks already where I know they work. I know because I don't want to go work or I'm lazy or something. I work, but people just don't want to give you a job. And even if you go ask them if you leave it, I think they don't want to give you nothing.
Right, and with this SI now, the new regulations put in place, you can't be walking up and down looking for a job because the police will pick you up.
They just pick up one this morning from social right there, you see. So like, you don't know what to do.
Ken Francis is a taxi driver. He and all other taxi operators have been removed from their stands. He says business is slow and it will only get worse. He's hoping that the monetary relief will make a big difference in his home.
The police tell we have to stay home, get called from our clients, and then come pick them up. It's very hard for a client to call you, for come pick up when they're late for work or something, 2-3 minutes. It makes a lot of difference, you know. So we are under a lot of pressure. We have to feed the family, come try to get this farm here, for try to pull this out, to try to see if I can get something to take care of my family, because you can't go home with an empty pocket and you have a family to take care of. We get 2-3 jobs for the day, park on the stand. Now that we can't park on the stand, we now get none. I had to look for get the owner the car right now and go home and stay, because then I don't know what's going on.
What kind of difference is leave money would that make? Would you be able to stretch it for help your family?
Well, it'll make a lot of difference, because if I said 2 jobs a day, they help me what to do, more or less little something better than none at all. You know, if you get only $2 or only $3 to help you, man, yeah, be good, because right now everything like crash.
Jason Wilshire is a part-time worker at a store, but that business closed its doors because it's not an essential service provider. He now hopes to get the unemployment aid.
Rough thing, because I can't come home where I want. I have to stay home. Then you want to go make money, I can't go.
So how much of a challenge is this for you right now to take care of your family?
Well, kind of hard.
So they sign up today for the relief, for the help?
Yes, ma'am.
Talk to me about that. How you any plans for the money, how you use it?
Yes, ma'am. Use it home.
With the situation where they go on now, a situation where everybody have to take safety and take precaution indeed. But at the same time, we have to get some leave funds to take care of our leave home. So I mean, people like me, when I got no leave job, this is my leave thing right here. Right now, I'm going to go safe, I could do a leave thing, you know. But I come for this farm because this thing pop up on my internet, and it's very essential if I could get this happen for my family. It's a very big help for me and my family if we could get this to a family, because after this we really want to have to stay home and take care of ourselves together. It has affected my job so far because many of the people who have jobs for me to do maybe went away or stay locked up inside, like for safety. I can't get it wrong, because I want safety too, and It really put a dent on many people income and the way of life right now.
In order to apply for the relief, you are asked to do the applications online or complete the form, which will be reviewed. The form looks like this. At the top, it asks for your particulars, such as name, address, and contact information. There are two categories listed: recent and longer-term unemployed, and the independent service providers. At the bottom of the form, it asks you for your banking information. This last section is a concern to several persons we met on the ground, because most of them said that they don't have a bank account or a credit union account. Luis Perez sums up that concern.
Now when I don't fill out the form, the piece of paper when I give you fill out, now if you not got a bank account, they no give you nothing. And one question I asked to them that if one of your family have, if you still could get it through that account, they said no, you need to have your own account and thing. And that to me like that are no kind of help from government, you see, because if he may want to give you something, at least he should, well, to me, according to other countries, the way how they do it, then you go around to houses and houses, then give you a coupon holder, this go down and store, pick up where you want and your needs, you see. But over here, so it's what's nothing yet, no kind of solution. Well, my next step is just to go back home and stay there and see what I will do, because I don't got nothing for eat home, like for say, I got milk pampers thing for supply my house with, but like I tell you, I know because I lazy and thing, I know I go work. People just don't want to hire you right now.
Before the site went down, as many as 5,000 persons had signed up online, and several thousand more submitted the hard copies of the form. And for those who are approved and will receive the relief, Prime Minister Dean Barrow says that they can expect it pretty soon.
There has already been a first rush of applications. The verification process is underway, and people should be seeing their money in the banks within 2 or so business days.
Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
As you heard, today many unemployed Belizeans applied for the COVID-19 unemployment relief from the government. We spoke with General Manager of Corporate and Customer Relations, Chandra Cancino, about the first day of applications. She says that the SSB's records show that approximately 7,000 hard copy forms were distributed at their branch offices across the country. Added to that, some 5,000 applications were submitted online before the site crashed. Here's more from Cancino about the first day of application submissions.
We issued close to 7,000 forms across the country today, and that is the physical form. The forms are available online, and I think they prefer the online option, that the persons use the online option, but the website has been down all day. We were anticipating that our largest crowds would come today because there were a lot of people just simply waiting for the forms to be available. But time will determine that as we go forward. I know as well that a large percentage of persons who are able to apply can access the online version. So I am thinking they are waiting for the online version. I think this morning Ms. Barnett had said that up to this morning before the site went down, they had already received around 5,000 online applications. And so I'm thinking that when that comes back up, they will probably be receiving another influx of applications. I looked at the application form, and one of the fields is asking for banking information. My guess is that if you don't have banking information, then you just leave it blank. I don't know if on the online version, if that is a required field or not. I would have to wait until that comes back up to check. But if you don't have banking information, I guess you leave it blank. And I believe that the Oversight Committee will mention something about debit cards from the Heritage Bank, and I'm thinking perhaps that would solve that problem of not having a bank account. So I think perhaps they will be speaking a little bit more and giving a little bit more information on how to address that. We just want the public to be aware that, yes, we are here to provide as much support as possible to the process, but we ask that then the social distancing requirements be respected. I don't think there was much of a problem with that today. I think initially there were a little bit of crowding, and then everybody realized, okay, we need to space out. But we're very strict with that. And likewise, when you go to return your applications completed, that you do so quickly and efficiently respecting the social distancing regulation, the rules.
Cancino notes that all day their communication channels were inundated with queries about the process, but she advises persons to use the website covid-19.bz as it provides the relevant information. The state of emergency came into effect on April 1st, and by Thursday night, the streets of Belize City and around the country were virtually empty of people, and there was very little vehicular traffic. Police was on the ground, and by Friday morning, 74 persons had been arrested and charged as enforced of the measures of state of emergency took place. The breakdown is as follows. 35 were charged with breach of curfew, 15 for being unable to provide reason for movement outside curfew, and 5 for failure to comply with restriction of movement outside of the curfew hours. In respect of the charge of failure to comply with curfew hours, 12 people were charged. One person is also facing charges for keeping establishment open when required to be closed, and 2 others with wandering about without a valid reason, and another person is failing to comply with quarantine measures. Commissioner of Police Chester Williams told the press today that arrests will continue on violators of the measures.
It seems like some of us Belizeans don't take heed and we don't take nothing seriously. But like the Attorney General said, that persons who violate the regulations, and primarily the curfew regulations, are going to be arrested and charged. And so there were a number of persons who were out last night, despite the fact that they were warned. And so we're not going to be warning no more, but rather we're going to be making arrests. While we were able to give bail to some last night, some remain in custody and were taken to court this morning. But again, we ensured that we maintain the social distance with those who were kept in custody, with a view to ensure that there was no close contact with them while they were in the cell blocks. I was disappointed with Belize City because, again, I live in Belize City and I saw a number of persons out last night after the curfew, and I think Belize City only had like 10 arrests. And I said to the commander today, I need to see better tomorrow morning. Dangriga did well. Dangriga had, I think, 23 arrests.
There was a murder on Thursday night in the Indianville community of Punta Gorda. Sometime around 7 p.m., PG police were called out to the area where they found 27-year-old Ismail Jacobs motionless with multiple gunshot wounds. Jacobs was lying face down in a pool of blood inside the living room of his home. The laborer was at home with several others when a lone gunman entered through the front door and fired multiple shots in his direction. At the scene, police were able to retrieve 3 expended shells. A motive for this murder is yet to be ascertained as police continue their investigation. After the break, a shipment of ventilators now expected to arrive early next week.
Bank.
As you know, during the Ask the Experts webcast, the panelists field questions from the public. Two of the frequently asked questions today were about the use of masks and the availability of ventilators. The literature on the use of masks has been changing constantly, and some organizations have still not fully endorsed the wide use of masks, while others say it is useful in preventing the spread of the virus. In respect of the ventilators, Director of Health Services Dr. Marvin Manzanero says that those are still in transit.
Please tell us about the use of masks. What is the official word on that? That's again, a situation changes every day. Now we'll see that WHO, well, CDC is suggesting that it may be of use in the general community. I went back to review what CARPHA had said and what WHO had said, and they are still not leaning towards blanket use of masks. And again, it has to be the adequate use of a mask, because if we are using it inadequately, you run the risk of still becoming infected, or assume that because you have a mask you are protected, or assume that because you have a mask you can actually be in the street if you are ill. The other factors I think are relatively important, and we cannot underestimate the value of the social distancing, which we still don't seem to either want to understand or I don't know if we're taking this very seriously. Any update on the ventilators? Well, they were supposed to have arrived on Monday. They are coming by flight from Miami. There were some issues with the company that's shipping them here. My understanding is that the new delivery date is on Tuesday of next week. So for now, it's the ventilators that are Carl Huchner only. We don't have any other than the ones that were due to have arrived 1 week ago Friday, and then they had told us Monday, and well, now the new date is next week Tuesday. And it's the same issue that you're going to be having not only for ventilators, for almost all equipment. You see the US having the same issue. It's the same thing that's applicable to us.
The economic impact of the COVID-19 crisis is widespread, and across the country, municipal administrations are feeling the financial crunch. Of the 420 employees on staff at the Belize City Council, all of them retain their current posts. The gravity of the existing situation, however, has forced City Hall to reduce its operations considerably, since it does not receive a monthly subvention from the central government. Mayor Wagner says that Citco has been running on a skeleton staff since March 23rd.
What we did, remember when the COVID first came on stream, we ensured that we put in place our plan here at the City Hall. Actually, we had been down to skeletal staff. Of our 460 staff members, we had 120 people working, and that included sanitation, cemetery offices, market offices, and then we had the IT, the finance department working remotely, and that came into effect from the 23rd of March. That was in effect. So we had limited traffic at the third floor level, limited traffic at the second floor level, and limited traffic at the first floor level. So we are encouraged by that, and so based on the timeline, we could say that we had put in place some mitigating components to ensure that if this turned out that way, it would be a limited number of people impacted. And so that was in place from the time around the 23rd of March.
When we come back, we head north, where we found the Orange Walk Town Council in dire straits. Every sector is grappling with the impacts of COVID-19. Municipalities are no exception. In Orange Walk, Mayor Kevin Bernard says the town council is adjusting to survive the months ahead as collection of taxes drop and subventions from government are up in the air. Economic activity has ceased, but we found one business in the town operating on Thursday. But before you enter Cuello store, you have to wear a mask. News 5's Hippolyta Novello has the following report.
On a regular Thursday, pedestrians will be out and about in Orange Walk town, but on this Thursday, the streets of Orange Walk were dead. The Central Park was empty and the life of the town has significantly slowed down. Residents are at home and Mayor Kevin Bernard hopes that they stay there.
The state of emergency is in effect today, and I am asking our people to please ensure that you follow and abide by those rules. Stay home. You don't need to come out if you don't need to. There's no need for us to see people on the street playing in the parks, doing their ordinary day business that they normally would do. It's a time for us to prevent this virus from spreading.
5 persons have been screened in Orange Walk for the COVID-19 virus with all negative results. And with the looming threat of a COVID-19 outbreak, the Orange Walk Town Council is doing its part. The council has closed its doors, leaving only the sanitation department operational.
As a council, we've been sending out press releases, we've been adhering to the regulations. Our staff have been sent home for the same reason, so that there's no direct contact with people. We've been providing online services for our customers and residents who want to pay property taxes, who want to do traffic transactions such as the renewal of driver's license and motor vehicle. Essential services is the sanitation department, the market area, cleaning and so forth. Those are the ones that are remaining, employees that remain on full employment. If you need to come out to buy any essential item, let it be one person, and do that and come right back home.
Economic activity has increased tremendously with the state of emergency in place. You won't find many people on the streets. You'll find them inside stores and supermarkets stocking up on unnecessary items. Social distancing is being enforced, and some businesses are requiring customers to wear face masks or no service. One of those businesses is Cuello store, owned by Rene Cuello. Before entering his store, I washed my hands and was given a face mask to use. His employees inside the store all wore face masks, and so did Cuello. Cuello believes that to prevent the spread of the virus, everyone must wear a face mask.
You need one person to infect many. So what they are doing to stop the spread is not working, not even in the USA. They are saying no more than 10 persons to be in one area at a time. But that is not helping. If the government enforces the law that everyone must wear a mask in public or when speaking to someone, we can stop this virus in its tracks, because you cannot spread it if you are not spitting in the person's face or your breath going to their person's face. Like, put on a mask. We as responsible citizens, no one without a mask can come to me and speak. I break someone on the spot. You must wear a mask, right? Before you get closer to me.
There is competing research related to the need to wear face masks during the COVID-19 pandemic. The World Health Organization and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says that you only need to wear a mask if you're taking care of a person with suspected COVID-19 infection and if you're coughing or sneezing.
The advice they are saying why not to use masks is not logical.
Yeah, because the WHO says that wearing masks may put you more at risk.
It's not logical, Hipólito. They say if you wear a mask, the virus sticks on it. So if it doesn't stick on the mask, where will it stick? In your face. You'll be infected immediately. And the mask is to protect you if I have it, right? That's why all of us are wearing a mask here. So I don't spread it to you and you don't spread it to me.
However, recent research shows that the use of a face mask, even by persons not showing signs or symptoms, is effective in preventing the spread of the virus. Scientists say that COVID-19 is believed to spread through respiratory droplets when an infected person coughs or sneezes. Those droplets land on common surfaces that many people come in contact with.
Right now, as is, you go to a supermarket, you have 2 with masks, 8 without masks. They go in the supermarket, the one that's infected probably could go behind the shelf, sneeze, you don't know, infect the products. You go around there, you touch it, right? you get infected too. And you pass it, you bring it to your family. Right? And that's the way to avoid it, is to wear a mask.
Signs and symptoms may appear days after a person is infected. Wearing a face mask prevents that person from spreading the virus during its incubation phase. Queer is requiring his customers to wear masks or be denied service. A few other businesses around town are doing the same, and Queer is encouraging other business managers and owners to join.
We demand that the customer bring a mask because we doesn't breathe or left some dew on the counter, you know, or on the money or whatever. You know how to handle yourself with the money. When the customer comes, you do it and you disinfect it. You have to take care of yourself so you stop the spread. But people have to be educated. People are going about their business like it's business as usual. And you have many, many shopkeepers that just don't give a damn. They don't care. You know, I go and I speak with them, they laugh. You don't have to wait to buy a mask or to get it imported. It's laziness. You can make a mask out of anything. See, we bought the cloth and we do it, and this is reusable.
How do you make the mask, sir?
We bought the cloth and you just cut it. It's easy. You get the string. See, you open it this way and you put a plastic inside or a wax paper. See? So your breath doesn't go through it, or anything doesn't go through it. Easy one. And we sell them for $1, and if they don't have any money, we give it to them, right? And this is reusable. You just have to take out the wax paper, push in another one, and you wash it. Easy, doesn't cost. It is just plain slackness that we don't do it.
Reporting for News 5, Hipólito Novello.
Orange Walk Mayor Kevin Bernard is pleading to Prime Minister Dean Barrow to afford city and town councils across the district financial relief. Most councils have closed down and only providing services of garbage disposal or market vending. Bernard says that the council's revenue streams are merely trickling, leaving the council on a financial cliff. Bernard says that the Prime Minister should step in to assist the council as they face dire situations.
The mayors are saying we cannot sustain. We will not be able to sustain ourselves if there is no revenue coming in. It's councils, we are asking the Prime Minister to take very serious consideration in your municipalities as well, across the board. I'm not speaking for just the Orange Walk Town Council, I'm speaking for every single town council, including those managed by his party's members, because all of us will face dire situations. For us, other municipalities that are larger have a little way to bounce a bit, but we will also face tough times. If our mainstream revenues are not coming in, then the government has to step in, and the government will have to step in. I listened to the Prime Minister at the press conference where he said that it would reach at a point where, until a point where we reach, until we believe we cannot help ourselves anymore, then the government should step in. I believe that is wrong.
Coming up after the break, with tourism at a standstill, residents look at alternative ways to spur the economy in the Keys.
perspective.
The tourism industry has shut down due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And now domestic tourism is also on hold for the upcoming Easter holidays. It is forecasted that the industry is in for a very long ride. The livelihood of the residents of San Pedro and Caye Caulker has been upended. So the two keys will now have to explore alternative ways to spur economic activity. Here's News 5's Dwayne Moody with a report.
The tourism industry has been shattered by the advent of COVID-19. From as early as mid-February, cancellations had been fast and furious across the country as travel bans were imposed, and those on vacation in Belize cut their trips short and returned to their respective countries. Feeling the direct impact from the onset of the pandemic were the island destinations of Caye Caulker and San Pedro. Belize Rural South Area Representative and Minister of Tourism Manuel Heredia Jr. says that the industry, which contributed about 40% revenue to the country's GDP, has been shot.
We already have offered from owners of hotels over here, getting together with the Belize Hotel Association, BTIA, BTB, and putting up some recommendations as to whenever things start to get a little better, we are already in action. You always have to be prepared. You always have to be in the lookout. I used to say that as tourism was flourishing, but it's a fragile industry, a hurricane, epidemic, or whatever. Today you see this epidemic that we have. We don't know how long, but I personally believe that this season is over. We will probably start to see the light in the next 6-7 months. So it is a long haul, and everybody has to do its share to make sure that we can overcome this crisis.
But prior to tourism, fishing was the lifeblood of Caye Caulker and San Pedro residents. In fact, a large number of persons still thrive off that industry. Data shows that there are approximately 2,700 registered fisher folks in Belize, that the fishing sector provides jobs for more than 15,000 Belizeans and accounts for about 3% of the country's GDP. Minister Heredia contends that as a possible solution, those fishers who became tour guides may need to revert to that livelihood to weather the COVID-19 crisis.
In the good days of the tourism industry, I used to tell my fellow fishermen, look, don't dedicate all your eggs into one basket, say like that. The day will come, as I mentioned, though a fragile industry, the day will come when one of these things will hit us, and what do you do next? But they seem to forget, majority of them seem to forget, and you are right, it might be that a month from now, that is what they will have to do, go back to the number one industry before the tourism industry, go back to that industry and then overcome some of the obstacles that we have.
Over in Caye Caulker, 90% of the economic activity on the island was directly linked to tourism. Chairlady Selene Villanueva Putt says that given the inactivity over the past 3 weeks, as a council and working with the residents, fishing is being looked at as a viable alternative for income generation.
Some of the fishermen have said outright, this is not the first time we've seen this. Before tourism, it was strictly fishing, and we made it. They said they can resort to fishing. It's just a phase we will have to readjust to in the old days, but I'm sure we will get through it.
One resounding message coming from the Belize Rural South Area representative was that the virus is indiscriminate and affects every and anyone, regardless of race, ethnicity, color, or creed.
We have to start to learn from this. This is a lesson to us. We have to start to learn. We have to start to live a different type of life. From now on, I believe every single Belizean has to start to live a different kind of life. In the time of plenty, they used to play big life, rich and famous. And when you advise them as to the days of a crisis might come, they just used to ignore it. Today we are here. It is not late, but we have to change our style of living from now on.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
Earlier in the month, Sagicor Financial Company Limited announced that it is committing $1 million to aid in the fight against COVID-19 in the Caribbean. The focus will be placed on enhancing early detection and providing equipment for the immediate care of those already infected. In Belize, Country Representative Karen Longsworth Godfrey handed over a check of 10,000 Belize dollars to Commissioner of Police Chester Williams. The monies will be used to purchase personal protective gear for officers countrywide.
The money obtained from Sagicor will be used primarily to purchase gloves for officers. What I was doing today was to try and raise funds to be able to purchase some of the face shield, like what you see Marisol and Mr. Brasta are wearing. So we want each officer to have one of those face shields so that they'll be able to protect themselves properly. And beneath the face shield, they'll be using the mask.
These people are on the front line, they're fighting this battle, and it is so unknown, it is so uncertain, so I certainly would encourage them to do so.
You say the money have been earmarked for protective gear? Or?
Yes, earmarked for, yes, definitely for protective gears. Sagicor has made contributions in the Caribbean of $1 million, and this is just our local contribution.
Throughout the week, a number of other organizations such as Caribbean Tire and Belize Estate also donated supplies to persons providing essential services. And that's the news. Don't forget that tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Sabrina Daly. Thanks for joining us, and from all of us here at News 5, please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay home. Good night.